Philadelphia Phillies trade deadline outlook. This is Ryan Finkelstein, managing editor of Just Baseball. I got Aram Leighton here, our co-founder, and we're looking at this team and we're trying to figure out what to do here. This is the longest pre-record session we had trying to figure it out. It's a team that we don't think has the pieces to swing a big trade, but a team that's a half game out of the wild card that's going to want to be active and try to add to the offense. Maybe get a starter, maybe address the bullpen. A lot of needs here. Let's start with how they can try to improve this offense and maybe the defense a little bit in the process. I feel like on State of the Division podcast, we've been talking about them trading for a center fielder all season, but are they going to have the pieces to get a one that's really an impact player here?
It's really tough because they are not going to part with Andrew Painter or Mick Abel. I would assume so, although you never know with Dave Dombrowski. And the rest of the prospects in the system, for the most part, are just not going to bring you back a major player. It's just not going to happen. So I look at we talked about it before we recorded, like a Merrill Kelly, because they need to upgrade the pitching side of things, and that seems to make the most sense. But offensively, do you think they need to go there? A center fielder would be nice. I continue to say that. Odubel Herrera is not great. Matt Vierling is not great. But they're going to get Gene Segura back. Alec Bohm has been swinging it all right. You presumably think that Nick Castellanos, he can't be worse at a 655 OPS, and you hope that Bryce Harper will be back over the next several weeks. What's amazing is that they are only a half game out of the wild card with Harper out now for multiple weeks. He's already been out. It feels like it's been 10 years, but I just feel like that they have to go for it, right? Because they're not getting any younger. What do you prioritize here?
Well, here's a name I want to throw at you that just came to mind here. Like Michael Taylor, you improved defensively a little bit. I think he's a big upgrade, even offensively over Herrera. That's an interesting piece that they can add without having to give up too much. If you have one, decent prospect that the Royals
Yeah.
like, I think you can get that deal done. And that would, I think, help them pretty significantly, honestly.
I like that because you could get a Michael A. Taylor with one or two of your top 30 guys and like on the back end. Like these could
Yeah.
be prospects in the 15 to 25 range, whatever it may be. Taylor's enjoying the best offensive season of his career. And he's an elite defender out there, which is what they really, really need. Offense is not a desperate thing for them right now. So, for example, we're going to talk about the Marlins. Michael A. Taylor doesn't make sense for the Marlins if they were buyers because they need offense, right? The Phillies don't necessarily need offense. They just need some consistency and a great defender in center. Taylor's better, like you said, and a great defender. You can go get Taylor and probably still have enough pieces to shuffle around here and try to get that starter. I think center field and getting a just serviceable back end of the rotation starter have to be the two priorities here. And I mean, just the list though of starters is relatively thin because you can pretty much forget about any impactful starter. It's just not happening. They're not getting one. Jose Quintana is going to be expensive for that system because of the fact that there's just going to be, I think, a lot of teams in on a left-handed pitching rental, and we've seen rentals bring in decent prospects when they're pitching well. Merrill Kelly, as we mentioned, free agent in 2025. So for that extra year of control and what he's done, probably expensive. Do they part with an Alec Bohm to get a Merrill Kelly? Is that one step forward, one step back? I think it would be worth considering, given that you're going to get Segura back, given that Stott's starting to swing it better. But it's a high risk move. What if Stott really struggles? What if Segura gets re-injured? Now you're really struggling on the infield side of things. So what would you do there?
Here's my question. What if the Diamondbacks love Alec Bohm? We don't know this, but let's just say they do. Could you get again, it kind of just adds to your corner outfielders, but could you get Peralta with Merrill Kelly? And then you could maybe, even if you had to DH him at some point, like at least you get a little bit of offense back in that trade. I don't know if that makes sense, but yeah, they're just in a weird spot because, like you said, you trade Bohm and it would be good to get Kelly, but now your offense takes a little bit of a hit and you're putting more on a rookie's shoulders and Stott and Segura's coming back from injury. And I don't know. They're just in such a weird spot, kind of stuck in the middle here.
And Logan O'Hoppe is a good trade piece. I mean, this is a borderline, or I think by Baseball America top 100 guy. He's going to be right on the edge of our top 100 update. Catching prospect that JT Realmuto is starting to come alive. He's looked a lot better as of late, and he's the guy that's going to be anchoring the catching position. So if they feel that Real Muto, is still going to be going strong for them for several more years, he's signed through 2025, then maybe they trade O'Hop here, and maybe that's a guy that can kind of headline a bigger trade. I think they could put something together without Bohm. The more I think about it, for a Merrill Kelly, but here's the thing: is the D-backs don't need a catcher, so it's a tough spot. But I think if they want to go out and get a decent starter, they could probably pull it off with a Logan O'Hop and maybe a Johan Rojas and a Griff McGarry. That
Yeah.
could be enough to put together a package for a decent starter. But to kind of wrap up on the Phillies, other than Merrill Kelly, Jose Quintana, who could be an option as well. Who else do you think that we could really see them going after that isn't out of their price range in terms of prospects?
I think a name that actually just kind of makes a ton of sense. It's just a trade that my gut tells me could happen is if they got Daniel Bard. It's not going to cost too much. Maybe instead of addressing your rotation, you
Shorten the
say
games.
exactly,
Yep.
exactly. Just get another reliever in there. He's been closing some games in Colorado, so that gives you a little bit of another option there because it's not like they have this lockdown closer you trust. I think that makes some sense. Where again, he's what 37. I mean, he's kind of
Yeah,
found
and
money
he's
for the
been great
Rockies.
though.
He's been
He's
great,
been
but how much does it really cost to get him is the question.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't That's a great question because the reliever market's always surprising sometimes what these guys bring in and sometimes what they don't. So I would love to see them go get they could maybe try and snag two relievers. They could try to
Yeah.
get Colome too and just really shorten the ball game because I mean the Phillies bullpen has been a pleasant surprise this year. I don't know if I will ever trust the Phillies bullpen, but they have been a pleasant surprise this year. And maybe that's the approach to take there. It's just shorten ball games and go reliever heavy. I don't hate that move because again, I really think it's a thin market pitching wise, and there's just not that many teams that are going to be willing to part with starters, and the ones that are going to be asking for a lot. And I think most teams will be able to outbid the Phillies pretty easily. So they're either going to have to try to find that lower end target that they think they can maximize, or try to go an unorthodox way and just try to stockpile some bullpen arms.
Yeah, I think the bullpen market is pretty, robust. There's a lot of names. Like you can get David Robertson, Michael Fulmer. There's names out there that they can
Larger
target.
deal with the Royals to get like
Mhm.
a Stalmont with Michael A. Taylor or Barlow with Michael A. Taylor. That could make sense as well.
And maybe that is the type of move they should make, where they should try to get some offensive piece that fits with the bullpen arm, and then maybe you can maximize what little prospect capital you do have in a trade here.
I like it, and a guy that I would have mentioned if he didn't go down with an injury is Michael Pineda. He's been pretty bad, but again, a flyer starter that you could mix in there. But now he's down on the IL. Just kind of scouring bad teams and seeing if they just try to pick up a starter. I wouldn't be surprised if they do that. But there's just not that many. Most of the bad teams are bad for a reason. They don't really have starters, but
Yeah.
maybe they can go and try and pry away a Cole Irvin or somebody in that realm, but it's really tough. It's going to be very difficult for Dave Dombrowski, and I'm very excited to see how he tries to pull this thing off.
It's an interesting deadline for them. They're right on the edge of this race, but if it's them or the Cardinals, I still kind of like not only what the Cardinals have, but what the Cardinals can do at the deadline if they decide to buy big here, because obviously they have way more capital to make moves here.
Absolutely.
That is our outlook on the Phillies. Make sure you follow the written version at justbaseball.com. Check out all of the videos we're doing at the State of the Division YouTube channel, and also the audio side at the State of the Division podcast.